always going to be in my mind.
Oh, did you see little skinny Ozzy? We're going to have to get on him about that the next time we see him. Busy afternoon around the bigs. 8 games going on this afternoon. We'll keep you posted with all the scores, highlights, and more. But coming up, some of you are going to see the freak, but the Dodgers don't plan on busting out the welcome mat for him. Others get Johan and the Mets take an aim at Albert and the defending NL Central champs. The rest are off to Cleveland. Will Peavy turn it back into the Jake, or will Grady grab center stage? Baseball, presented by Lowe's, is next. Hello? Hello? All right, enough. Enough. Yeah, you know. Got it, thank you.
Hey, was Gow just talking? I didn't hear him. Have a good one, dude.
It is another spectacular Saturday here in Southern California as the division-leading San Francisco Giants take on the two-time defending NL West champion Los Angeles Dodgers. Hi, everybody, and welcome. Alongside Eric Karros, I am Chris Rose. And Eric, despite last night's loss, the Giants off to a great start. Still 7-3, in part because of a significantly improved offense. But when you're talking about San Francisco, it begins and ends with the starting staff, and all eyes squarely focused on Tim Lincecum.
Well, you're talking about probably the best pitcher in all of baseball, at least in the National League. Tim Lincecum has won the Cy Young Award the last 2 years. He's not a physically imposing guy, but he pitches as big as anybody. You know, and this is a guy that Joe Torre described as having inner arrogance, and he meant it in a complimentary way because he goes out there and he knows he's going to do well. He's going to have to feel like that because the Dodger offense, they've been swinging the bats well, and they're led by Andre Ethier and Matt Kemp. These two outfielders, they won the Silver Slugger Award last year, and they've continued hot starts. Matt Kemp, 5 home runs already. Andre Ethier, a grand slam last night. Tim Lincecum is going to face a challenge today.
Yeah, for Ethier, it was his 8th career multi-homer game in the win. Now Lincecum, number 55, ready to turn it on. Already 3-0, but he's going against the knuckleballer, Charlie Hager. Lincecum could bring some heat. Hager, he wouldn't get caught speeding in a school zone. First pitch between the Dodgers and the Giants coming your way next. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. Can I pop that in? Thanks. How we doing? How do we sound? Hello, hello. You going to run that SOP full? Thank you. I've got you. Left. could have gotten a little bit chippy last night when Aaron Rowan got hit in the head by Vicente Padilla. And as we look at the San Francisco Giants starting lineup brought to you by Taco Bell, you will notice that Rowan is not in today's lineup. Small fractures in his left cheekbone as he was hit in the helmet, so he has been replaced at the top of the order by Eugenio Velez. He'll be followed by Edgar Renteria, the switch hitter Pablo Sandoval, and then the two new guys, Eric Karros, Aubrey Huff and Mark DeRosa.
Both professional hitters. I think they're a great addition to this lineup, a free-swinging lineup last year. They bring professional at-bats to this ball club.
And they're going to face 26-year-old right-handed knuckleballer Charlie Hager, making just his 6th career big league start. His last start was actually sensational down in Florida. Struck out a career-high 12 that game.
Yeah, something with Charlie Hager. He's a knuckleball pitcher, or a knuckball pitcher, as we like to call him. And he has to be effective because he's got to give this bullpen a rest. How will he be effective? Don't issue any walks. Easier said than done.
That was your Sprint pitcher profile for Charlie Hager. Well, this game is brought to you by Budweiser, official beer of the first inning. The beer that starts with full flavor and ends with a crisp, clean finish. Budweiser, it's what we do. Eugenio Velez starting in center field once again for the injured Aaron Rowan. Hit his 2nd homer of the year last night. And he looks at one outside. Even at 1-1. Velez, a guy that can play a little bit of everywhere for Bruce Bochy's squad. All 3 outfield positions and second base as well. Catches the outside corner.
Well, 2 knuckleballs, 1 fastball so far. Velez not offered it anything. You know, and as a hitter, you want to get up there, especially that first time, just kind of see what the ball is doing as far as how much movement from a knuckleball.
That went a little bit high to even the count at 2-2. Dale Scott calling the balls and strikes. And the first full counts. Just like you mentioned, Eric Karros, avoid the walks, and there is walk number 1. Let's take a look at the Dodgers defensive alignment, brought to you by Scott's. The outfield, Garrett Anderson, Gold Glover, Kemp in center, and Keith here in right. Makeshift infield with Belliard, Carroll, DeWitt, and Loney at first. A.J. Ellis getting the start behind the plate, trying to, and I emphasize the word trying, to catch the knuckleball. Edgar Renteria got off to a great start the first week of the season. Has slowed a bit, but still hitting .333. And he looks at a strike called by Dale Scott, the crew chief. Jerry Meals at first base. Mark Wagner at second. Dan Iasonia working third. At some point, you expect a guy like Velez to run on a knuckleballer?
Well, as we saw, the first pitch to Renteria, a fastball, you know, that and knuckleball right there. Hager, obviously aware he's going to mix the knuckleball with the fastball with runners on. You know, ideally, the knuckleball, you don't want it to have any rotation. You see right there, not a lot of rotation. You'll get some movement. You know, today, not a very windy day as compared to Charlie Hager's last start in Florida, where he had 12 strikeouts in 6 innings. When it's not as windy, you won't get as much movement.
The 0-2. Ball hammered to third and under the glove of Belliard. The Dodgers defense 10 errors coming into this game, tied for the second most in the National League. They're going to rule that one, however, a hit.
Well, and maybe it's not an error, but that's a play at the big league level you expect the player to make. As you mentioned, the defense has not been as solid as it was last year. Belliard just ranging to his left, just past him. And in the day game, it's also tough for the infielders to pick the ball up off the bat because of the crowd.
And in steps the Giants' best hitter, Pablo Sandoval, who on the first pitch hits one foul.
And when I talk about the crowd, usually light shirts, white shirts, the ball can get lost. And when day games, you've got a glare. I mean, I remember watching Ozzie Smith, the great Hall of Fame shortstop for the Cardinals, actually break the wrong way on a ground ball. He broke to his left, it was to his right. So it happens to the best of them.
Ball in the dirt, doesn't get far enough away from Ellis for the runners to move on. Last night, Pablo Sandoval, his second homer of the season, that one to dead central off of Vicente Padilla. This is a guy who last year hit .330, runner-up to Hanley Ramirez for the National League batting crown, and at age 23, an awfully bright future ahead. Hager in a jam in the first. Sandoval wanted to pull the trigger but didn't. A 69-mile-an-hour knuckleball. Hager told me he has several different speeds that he likes to use with the knuckleball. And it's 3-1.
You know, early on right now, just observing Hager, not a lot of movement on the knuckleball. There have been a few that have been up high, but we haven't seen the kind of movement like we saw in his last start against the Florida Marlins.
There's a swing and a miss by Sandoval.
You know, even that didn't have a lot of movement. It seemed like it just floated up there. And ideally, a knuckleball pitcher, it's going to have that floating effect, but you're going to have that darting movement right around home plate. Now, see, look at that. That's a great shot right there. No movement in the rotation, but not a lot of movement on the ball either.
Runners moving, and so is the ball. It gets away from Ellis. Velez is going to try and score. Hager is there, applies the tag, and he is out.
Well, a good hustling play, not really ideal to try to score right there when you've got a pitcher in trouble. A great slide. It almost looks as if he gets his right hand in there before Charlie Hager tags him on the backside. The ball absolutely beat Velez to home plate. But I think with his slide on the other side of the plate, look at it. I think he gets that right hand in there before Hager tags him right above the back of the kneecap.
In steps Aubrey Huff with runners at the corners, and one more look at the play at the plate.
It's just not the play that you want to make in the first inning when you've got the pitcher on the ropes. A great slide, and to me, he appears to be safe. But again, not a smart baseball move.
Ball inside.
You haven't seen enough. Let's see it again. Look at that. That right hand slips in there.
That's about as good a slide as you will see. I mean, midair, he almost makes the change.
Yeah, he gets in, he hasn't tagged. Now he tags him, and he's already got his hand on the plate.
Aubrey Huff lifts one to shallow right. In comes Ethier. Renteria tagging at third and then stopping about 30 feet down the line, and a good solid throw by Ethier. Charlie Hager almost out of this jam, and he wasn't in a whole lot last Sunday against the Marlins. A career-high 12 strikeouts in 6 innings. You can add in a few of third strikes that got past Ellis as batters reached base. I mean, if you think it's frustrating to try and hit this thing, try catching it. So with 2 down, runners at the corners, one of the new Giants, Mark DeRosa, stepping in, hitting .235. Gets it one outside. DeRosa and Huff, the 2 big offseason acquisitions. Hoping to give this lineup enough pop to go along with the solid pitching staff and make them contenders once again in the NL West. DeRosa looks at a strike.
Well, that ball moving a little bit there, and Hager seems to have calmed down a bit. As you mentioned, in quite a jam. Looked like it was going to be a big inning for the Giants and really one pitch away from getting out of it unscathed.
The 23rd pitch of the inning is high and outside as Sandoval takes second without a throw.
Sandoval taking off before Hager even starts his windup. Bit of a gutsy move.
Ball fouled away. The question for the Giants, did they add enough pop in the offseason with the additions of Huff and DeRosa? Because those are really the 2 main components they brought in.
Right. You know, those are guys that are really complementary offensive parts. And, you know, does this Giant ball club have enough offense? Do they have that big bopper? They don't. Pablo Sandoval is a nice hitter. But I'm not sure that, you know, he's at the same level as some of the other sluggers that some of the other ball clubs have. But because of their pitching and because of the ballpark they play in, they're not going to need to score a number of runs.
25th pitch of the inning for Charlie Hager. That ball's ripped to center. Matt Kemp right in his tracks, and Charlie Hager dances in and out of danger. And now the Dodgers will get to swing it against the 2-time NL Cy Young Award winner, Tim Lincecum. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. How many pitches at it? Well,
26.
26?
14 of each.
Thank you. Yeah, you going to get me in on the offense or the lineup or no? Or you got this lineup?
No, I think because it's so different.
You got to do the lineup. You got to do it. Yeah, no, that's fine. I don't. It just. Himself pitch big.
Shortstop number 14, Judy Terrell.
Scoreless moving to the bottom of the first in Los Angeles. Here's today's starting lineup for the Dodgers, brought to you by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. No Manny, no Martin, no Casey Blake, but plenty of Jamie Carroll batting leadoff, followed by James Loney, Andre Ethier, Matt Kemp having an awfully solid start, batting cleanup. Garrett Anderson in left, Ronnie Belliard at third, Blake DeWitt at second, A.J. Ellis behind the plate, and Charlie Hager finishing out the lineup. He'll face the two-time Cy Young Award winner Tim Lincecum, looking to move to 3-0 on the season. He'll face Jamie Carroll to start things off. He looks at ball one low. Lincecum outstanding in his win Sunday against the Braves. 7 innings pitched, 10 strikeouts, only 1 walk. It's the only one he's allowed all year. That ball a little bit inside. The 2-0. And here now the sprint pitcher profile on Tim Lincecum.
Well, great competitor. Joe Torre, the manager of the Dodgers, mentioned an inner arrogance, and that's he knows he's that good. He won't beat himself. He doesn't get flustered on the mound. He'll give up a run here and there. He'll get back. And look, this guy, 160 pounds. You look at him and you say there's no way physically that this guy is going to be able to do it. But he reminds me a bit of the old Pedro Martinez. Small in stature, but as big as anybody out on the hills.
And has yet to allow a leadoff hitter on base in 14 innings worked this year. Make it 15 now as he gets Carroll.
You see, falls behind Carroll 2-0 and then battles back. This off speed down the middle here, and then boom. And look, a bit of an awkward motion here. Watch the follow through here. Look at that leg coming up, and boom.
James Loney stepping into the box, 327 without a homer and 5 runs batted in. Oh, looks at a ball.
You know, this is a guy for the Dodgers. You know, he hasn't really got going yet. He's swinging the bat pretty well the last couple of games, but you know, he has yet to turn the corner like an Ethier or Kemp. And this guy can flat out hit. Reminds me a lot of one of our colleagues, Mark Grace. A guy that's going to give you a good at bat, can hit for average, drive in runs, slip fielder.
There's a ball hit on the ground to Juan Uribe. And there's 2 down. Here's the Giants defense brought to you by Scott. Once again, no Aaron Rowan after getting hit by a pitch in the face last night. Eugenio Velez gets the start. Sandoval, Renteria, 2-time Gold Glover at short, Uribe and Huff, and Benji Molina behind the dish, also a 2-time Gold Glove Award winner.
Well, they have guys that can catch the ball. The problem, though, not a lot of team speed out there, so you're not going to get to a lot of balls that you would hope that your defense can make.
Well, they couldn't get to 2 of the balls hit off the bat of Andre Ethier last night because they left the yard, including his first career grand slam. He looks at ball 1. Swing and a miss by Ethier.
You know, Ethier, one of the few guys that's had a bit of success against Tim Lincecum, hitting close to 300. But you look up and down the Dodger lineup today, and not a lot of guys hit him very well.
Well, you talk about that homer he hit off of Lincecum last year. It was a critical game, late September. The Giants still in that wild card chase. It was just a lost weekend for Bruce Bochy's boys, in part because of the performance of Andre Ethier. That was a day where Lincecum got touched up for 5 runs in 4 innings.
Hey, don't see that very often. And this is a guy that if you score 4 runs for him, he's never lost in the big leagues.
And there's something you haven't seen but twice this season. Batter getting a free pass.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. If you look at the Dodger lineup today, you're Tim Lincecum. You can't let Andre Ethier or Matt Kemp beat you. Fell behind a 3-1 count. Hey, look, you don't want to just lay one in there for Ethier as hot as he's been.
Go ahead, walk him, start over with Kemp.
Well, Matt Kemp home runs in 4 straight games. He has struggled in his career against Tim Lincecum, just 1 for 12 with 6 strikeouts, but right now he is seeing the ball very well. Big swing and a miss there.
Going right after him with the fastball. It's interesting because Molina set up outside, and the balls that Kemp has hit out the last couple of days have been middle away. I'm not sure why teams aren't just trying to go hard inside against him.
That one in the dirt, smothered by Molina. Matt Kemp became the first Dodger last year, hit at least 25 homers, drive in more than 100 runs, steal 30 bags. A breakout season, and off to a great start in 2010. That one catches the corner for strike 2.
Well, and you want to talk about, this young Dodger ball club, whether it's Ethier or Kemp or Martin or Loney. The guy that has the highest ceiling, without question, is Matt Kemp. The athletic ability is unparalleled. He's still developing into a baseball player.
Good play by Molina again. One in the dirt. How tough is a guy like Lincecum to catch? His ball moving all over the place and things like that.
Well, the thing is, though, he's got great control, and he moves it both sides of the plate. As long as he doesn't cross you up, I think it's a lot more, favorable if you get that call against Lincecum rather than if you're on the flip side, you're A.J. Ellis and you get Charlie Hager. It's almost like, geez, not really sure I want to play today.
So Lincecum strikes out 2 in the first and leaves 1 stranded. We are scoreless through 1. Think outside the bun. By Scott's, official lawn care company of Major League Baseball. And by Sprint, the Now Network. Another sun-splashed afternoon in Chavez Ravine. Giants and Dodgers scoreless as we move to the second. This is a series that dates back to 1900. The Giants, whether it's New York or San Francisco, lead the all-time series, but the Dodgers won 11 of 18 meetings last season. In fact, the Dodgers, that's really where they won the division, was against National League West competition. They went 46-26 against not only the Giants, but the rest of that division.
Well, absolutely dominated the division, and look, they played Arizona this year, 2-1. won a game against the Giants last night, 3-1 against the division in the early start.
Off to a great start in the early part of this season is the catcher Benji Molina, hitting .440. There were questions as to whether or not they would re-sign him after his contract expired after the 09 season. They brought him back. Looks at a knuckleball a little bit low. They do have one of the bright catching prospects in all of baseball, Buster Posey, who had a very solid spring but was sent down to kind of work on his game a little bit.
Well, I mean, again, you can be the best minor league player ever, but if there's not an opening at the big league level, you know, wear it. You're going back to the minor leagues. And the reality is, Molina calls a great game, and the pitching staff, which is so vital to this Giant ball club, is very comfortable throwing to Benjamin.
And he looks at a strike. Getting a good look at Barry Zito. We'll go against Clayton Kershaw tomorrow in the series finale. It's 3-1. Hager had a very rocky start to this game. Didn't retire one of the first 3 batters he faced, but did tag Velez out at the plate. So kept goose eggs on the scoreboard, but he is struggling with that knuckler. The ball ripped to center. Giants have another hit.
That ball, a slider, cutter, or something. It was not a knuckleball. And as you mentioned, Chris, he just doesn't seem to have any kind of movement with the knuckleball today. This ball just a bit of a cutter. Molina's sitting on it. And whack, base hit. Again, Charlie Hager, not a lot of movement. Ball's kind of floating up there. It's not darting around consistently. I think he's going to be in trouble a good part of the day.
Juan Uribe hitting .361 with 8 RBI. Looks at a called strike. Uribe manning second base until Freddie Sanchez returns. He has spent the first few weeks of the season on the DL after knee surgery. And it's actually, we talked to Bruce Bochy before the game. How do you get Juan Uribe at bats once Freddie Sanchez does come back if he is 100% healthy?
Well, and he will get him at bats, much like Joe Torre puts guys in the lineup, gives guys days off. And Uribe, a versatile player, can play some third, can play some second. You know, in his younger days, he played a little short. Could fill him in there. He'll get the at-bats. Look, at any ball club, if they're going to be competitive into October, they're going to have contributions from everybody, just not their starting 8 or 9.
Side. And Hager falls behind 3-1. And Uribe, one of those guys that can hit the ball out of the park 3 times in his career. He's hit at least 20 homers in a season. Last year, 16 with the Giants. And it's another walk. The 3rd walk allowed by Charlie Hager. Time now for today's 4 keys to the game.
Well, it's funny. Tim Lincecum on the hill. Just get him a run or two, and he seems to be lights out. Stay away from Kemp and Ethier. Those are the 2 potent guys in the L.A. lineup. You know, the Dodgers, you just have to limit the Giants' free passes. You can't give them walks. Make them earn it. Look, the Dodger offense today, they're going to have to manufacture runs. Don't count on putting up an 8 or 10 spot against Tim Lincecum.
Second straight inning, Hager is in trouble. Now he faces Nate Scherholtz, hitting .286 on the season. Getting the start out in right. Lost the right field job to John Bowker in spring training. And here comes A.J. Ellis for a little chat.
Yeah, not really sure what you can go out and tell a knuckleball pitcher. I mean, look, you get your arm up or throw that knuckle. I think more than anything, it's just going out there, getting Charlie Hager an opportunity to catch his breath, kind of sit there for a second. All right. Let's start over here. Let's minimize the damage. Let's not have a big inning here. Make a pitch. You've got the pitcher on deck next. You see that just not a lot of movement on the knuckleball today. I mean, we haven't seen a lot of good ones. And when we do see ones that move quite a bit, we saw one to Pablo Sandoval, it darted to the backstop.
38 pitches for Hager, only 16 strikes so far. One. ball slapped foul.
You know, in one of his first starts, you know, Charlie Hager threw mostly all knuckleballs. I mean, there were 2 or 3 pitches outside of the knuckleball. You know, but today we're watching him. We're seeing a lot of cutters, a lot of fastballs.
And he did not go, so says Dan Iasonia down at third. So yet another 3-ball count to a Giants batter. Ball tapped back to Hager. He goes to second, low throw, scooped up by Carroll, and he does not get Scherholtz, who is fleet of foot. So a poor throw by Hager may have cost him a double play.
Well, Charlie Hager still going to the knuckleball here. Gets it, turns it, throws, doesn't lead Jamie Carroll, which probably cost them the opportunity of turning the double play. Jamie Carroll doing a nice job, though, of catching it, making sure of one out. A lot of guys will anticipate a good throw, already be moving towards first, but you've got to catch that ball first and get the out before you try and get that double play.
So now Tim Lincecum looks at a called strike. Lincecum 0 for 3 this season, lifetime 137 hitter with 8 RBI. Belliard in at third. And there's a bunt past Hager, and Molina with a late break, a beautiful bunt, and the Giants are going to take a 1-0 lead. You couldn't have placed it out there any better.
I mean, that looked like something that a Rafael Furcal would do. Gets it by Hager, the second baseman, Blake DeWitt, going towards first base, anticipating James Loney crashing in. Nobody there to field that ball. Really not a defensible bunt once it gets by Charlie Hager.
So now 2 on for the top of the order. Eugenio Velez looks at ball 1. Velez walked, but was thrown out at the plate as he tried to score from second on a ball that got past A.J. Ellis. Last night, Eugenio Velez did not start the game, but came in and finished it well, replacing the injured Aaron Rowan in center. His second homer of the year. Got the Giants close as they made Joe Torre and that Dodgers staff sweat it out once again in the 9th inning. Dodgers did hold on for the win.
When you talk about it, his second homer of the season. Now that leads all the Giant ball club. There isn't anybody else with anything more than one. That's what you talk about, this ball club. They're going to have to manufacture runs. They're going to have to put the ball in play.
There's another base hit by Velez. Scherholtz is going to get held at third, so it'll be the bases loaded and 1 out.
Shortstop, number 16, Edgar Renteria.
Well, this is a knuckleball, and it knuckles, but it doesn't move. Ball right down the middle of the plate. Not getting any kind of late movement. The ball literally is just floating today. You know, Rick Honeycutt out to talk to him, and again, really not much you can say. How do you feel? What's going on? You know, get that knuckleball over.
Not that we want to look too far ahead, but next week on Fox Saturday Baseball, Alex Rodriguez and the Yankees take on Torrey Hunter and the Angels. It is a rematch of last year's ALCS. Some of you will get the Mariners and the White Sox. It's Fox Saturday Baseball presented by Lowe's. Returns next week at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific. And they're going to need some length today out of Charlie Hager. They played some awfully long games this week against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Not only in terms of length of game, but also number of pitches thrown. Joe Torre had to run through his bullpen. They went with 7 pitchers one night. Hager had to come out of the bullpen, throw an inning of relief. So they're really stressed in the early going down there. Big swing and a miss there by Edgar Renteria, a career .338 hitter with the bases loaded, including 8 grand slams.
Well, and this is, as a hitter, you want to be patient. It's very easy to get excited and be aggressive because you've got the bases loaded. It's a great opportunity to blow the game open, but you've got to be patient because the pitcher is the one that's in trouble.
Now it's Renteria in trouble behind 0-2.
You know, Hager's struggling with his control, and Renteria coming to the plate and offering it 2 knuckleballs. And just really not the type of plan a manager would like to see from his hitter. You know, now it's a situation as a hitter you want to just spread your feet out, use your hands, and just try to make contact.
Something Renteria does not do. A huge strikeout for Charlie Hager.
Now, this ball had some late movement. It looked like it was something that Renteria could hit, and at the last moment just shot outside. And one of the better knuckleballs.
2 down now for Pablo Sandoval. He's a great hitter in just about any situation you put him in. He walked back in the first. One way inside. Sandoval does a good job just to get out of the way.
Now, I mentioned Velez having 2 home runs. Sandoval also has 2 home runs for this Giant ball club. But still not a lot of power. You know, and here you're not looking for the big hit. You're just looking for a base hit.
Fouled away, even at 1-1. Sandoval's hit safely in 9 of the 10 games so far. Last season at .330, that was the 4th highest average for a player in his first year since 1958. Fred Lynn, Wade Boggs, and Ichiro, the only ones to have a higher batting average.
Sandoval, a switch hitter, and you know, a lot of switch hitters that face knuckleball pitchers will stay on the right-hand side. Chipper Jones, a switch hitter, will hit from the right side. Bobby Bonilla, player that played in the 90s, a switch hitter, would hit from the right side. They felt like they would see the ball better.
Ball slapped foul.
You know, and that's the thing with a knuckleball, you want to be able to pick the ball up as early as possible. Then it's almost as if you want to catch it with your bat. You don't want to go out and get it. You do that, the thing darts out of the way, you got trouble.
He tried to offer at it, but held back. So the count is even at 2-2. Shearholtz at third. He reached on a fielder's choice. Tim Lincecum drove in the first run of the game with a bunt. He's at second. Velez at first. And now Pablo Sandoval looking at a full count, so the runners will be moving with 2 down.
Well, if you're Hager, you got to go with what got you here. You throw that knuckleball and hope it knuckles over the plate. Can't throw a fastball or cutter here.
It is the 5th full count for Charlie Hager through an inning and 2/3. A lot of people are wondering, well, can a knuckleballer, because there's not so much stress on his arm, can he just throw 130 pitches every time he wants to?
Well, he can if his manager will leave him out there. And I think in this situation, Hager's going to get innings today. Doesn't matter what the pitch count is.
Swing and a miss, so Hager, even though he gives up a run, gets out of another jam for the 2nd straight inning. RBI for Lincecum. Could have been a whole lot worse for Charlie Hager and the Dodgers. Bases loaded, 1 out. He strikes out Renteria and Sandoval. And now Lincecum will face 37-year-old Garrett Anderson, who looks at ball 1. Anderson getting the start for Manny Ramirez, who left last night's game because of a little tightness in his calf. Joe Torre said Manny's probably good to pinch hit today.
Well, and if there's a chance to get to Lincecum, this is an inning to do it. You got Anderson and Ronnie Belliard, Blake DeWitt, all had success against him.
That one gloved by Huff, and there's 1 down.
And the other thing, too, Tim Lincecum was out on the base paths for a good part of the last inning. So, you're looking for some vulnerability. This may be the inning.
Well, here comes Ronnie Belliard getting the start at third today, and all this guy has done is hit since he came over and joined the Dodgers at the end of August last season. Hit .351 in 24 games with them and off at a .571 clip this year.
Well, the joke in L.A., too, is that Belliard's here to entertain Manny and, be his friend and that sort of thing. But as you just mentioned, the reality is he's come over and been a very productive player.
Eugenio Velez is going to snag that one for out number 2. Well, Fox Sports is proud to team with the Breast Cancer Research Foundation during our 2010 MLB on Fox season. The Breast Cancer Research Foundation helps fund the most advanced and promising breast cancer research. You can join the fight by texting CURE to 27722 or donate $10 or visit bcrfcure.org. Messaging and data rates may apply. Blake DeWitt, second baseman, looking at strike 1. DeWitt, a guy that's tried to win that second base job the last few years. Made the opening day roster in 09, but was sent up and down 6 different times.
Started at third base last year. He was the opening day third baseman. And Casey Blake came over and
That's a ball.
Signed to a multi-year deal, moved DeWitt over to second base. And, this is a guy that, a very versatile player. Guy that's going to go out and give you every ounce of effort. Pretty good hitter as well.
Stays alive. DeWitt with moderate success against Tim Lincecum, albeit a very small sample. He's 3 for 6 with a double. The 1-2. What is your approach against a guy like Tim Lincecum when you're up there?
Well, he's going to get you a fastball at some point. You just don't want to miss it. You can't afford to miss pitches when you face the top pitchers. And I say that, I don't care how great a guy he is as far as stuff. In a number of at-bats during a game, you're going to get an opportunity.
And a 1-2-3 inning for Tim Lincecum. We will return to Los Angeles after a word from your local Fox station. Presented by Lowe's. Let's build something together. A couple of great managers in this one going at it as the Giants lead the Dodgers 1-0. Joe Torre now in his 29th year on a big league bench. Third season out here in Los Angeles. He'll turn 70 years old in July. Aubrey Huff looks at another ball.
Ball 3.
And it's 3-0. 8th 3-ball count for Charlie Hager. And a 4-pitch walk for Aubrey Huff, who had to run a little bit faster this week for his first Giants home run. It came against the Pittsburgh Pirates. He became the first Giant to make his first home run as a member of that team inside the Parker since 1996. That's when Dax Jones did it.
Dax?
Yes. Hope you didn't draft him in the fantasy league. That was his only big league home run. You know, Huff joked because of the dimensions up there in San Francisco that he has 3 home runs already this year because 2 others would have definitely gone out in almost every other ballpark.
Well, not a favorable place to hit, but again, that ball club built around pitching. Favors the pitchers.
Mark DeRosa, who lined one to center in first to end that inning. Charlie Hager has already issued as many walks today, 4, as he did in 6 innings of work back on Sunday in Florida.
I mean, you look at the way Hager's pitched so far, you'd think this was an 8-0 game with the Giants, and you look up at the scoreboard, it's only 1-0. They've been able to escape the big inning.
There goes Huff. The throw to second is into center field, and Huff is going to huff and puff his way to third. And he is in there safely. I think Aubrey Huff has had enough of this running stuff the first few weeks of the season with San Francisco.
Well, speed not a big part of his game, but you see him looking in, you almost wonder if some sort of contact play, but he gets a good jump. And Matt Kemp a little late getting out there. And look, A.J. Ellis is going to have his work cut out for him behind the plate. Gets charged with an error. You've got to worry about catching the ball, guy running. It's just, as Bruce Bochy said, it's, catching a knuckleball. You're almost hoping that, you're not in the lineup because it's not fun. It's not fun about the second or third inning after trying to catch everything and worry about base runners. And just like, uncle, look, forget it. I don't care if it's a big league game.
Ball hit up the middle, and it is off the glove of Jamie Carroll. So another shoddy defensive inning by the Dodgers, and DeRosa's going to leg it all the way to second. Not going to get a whole lot of style points on the slide, and it looks like maybe even DeRosa might have injured himself a little bit.
Well, here it looks like Jamie Carroll takes his eye off of the ball. When I say that, he's looking at the runner at third before he catches the ball. You see, you don't really see it well there, but he does. He was making sure or looking to see what Aubrey Huff was doing at third base. Again, before you do anything, you've got to grab the ball.
Benji Molina singled and scored the first run of the game. And I suppose if you're going to get hit, this is the day to have that happen.
Well, look, it's not the 90-mile-an-hour fastball. We talk about DeRosa a little earlier about that slide into second base and him hustling on the ball. Look, that's almost a dive into the pool. Oh!
Not quite as soft on the landing.
That's getting some air. You see him grab a hamstring there? Or?
So Hager for the third straight inning, putting the 2 leadoff men on. And it's Juan Uribe. Looks at a called strike. It has been another tough defensive performance by the Dodgers, who've been plagued by 2 errors here in the third. One by Ellis on the throw, one by Jamie Carroll on the ground ball. This one popped up. Andre Ethier coming in, DeWitt going out. It will be Ethier.
Well, you talk about this defense, and, I mean, that also puts pressure on the pitchers. I mean, where there should be outs, that means the pitching staff has to make more pitches. The starters make more pitches. The pitch count goes up. You have to get to the bullpen. So it's almost as if there's a domino effect, and the defense has really let this ball club down this early part of the season.
Well, the defense let the Dodgers down when Nate Schierholtz was up the first time. Bouncer back to Charlie Hager, who fielded it cleanly, but a better throw, and maybe they would have had a double play on Schierholtz. Instead, they just got a force out at second. And look at the pitch count already for Charlie Hager. With one out in the third, 73 pitches compared to Lincecum, who is mowing down the Dodgers so far. There's a called strike by Dale Scott. DeRosa at second. He reached on an error. Molina at first after getting hit by a pitch. Hager originally drafted by the Chicago White Sox in 1999, the 25th round. Finally made it to the big leagues in 2006. There's a base hit. DeRosa is going to be held at third. Good throw by Ethier. So yet again, stop me if you've heard this before, but the Giants have the bases loaded against Charlie Hager.
Schierholtz gets a hold of a knuckleball. Again, more of just floating up there. Doesn't have that darting action. Gets it to right field. Ethier gets it in. Bases loaded, as you mentioned. But the Giants have been unable to issue that knockout blow. I mean, Hager's danced his way around this. If you were to say 4 walks, a hit by pitch, 5 hits, you've only given up 2 runs, you'd say, how the heck is that happening? But it's happening today.
Well, Tim Lincecum, the 2-time Cy Young Award winner, last at bat, got the Giants on the board with this beautiful bunt that got past Hager. And there's another rip. That one is going to be into the alley. DeRosa scores. Here comes Benji Molina. Schierholtz to third. And Tim Lincecum, Mr. Do-It-All today.
Lincecum twice has got fastballs to hit. The other time he was able to get a bunt down. This time he drives the ball in the alley. He's been fortunate. It's almost as if Hager's thinking, well, he's not going to swing the bat. I'll just get ahead, throw some balls over the plate, not worry about the knuckleball. But Lincecum's got it twice.
Mark DeRosa checking in with the Giants training staff after that awkward slide. It's Dave Greshner, trainer for the Giants. Eugenio Velez with a single and a walk. Ball popped foul and out of play.
See DeRosa heading down, and that's something that the Giants can't afford. You have a guy like DeRosa, if he has a hamstring issue, Aaron Rowan possibly down. I mean, they're not deep, and these guys are professional players, guys with experience.
And they just traded an outfielder, Fred Lewis, yesterday to Toronto. He was rehabbing an injury down in Fresno, so they don't have him to call up.
Well, and the thing about it, it's the types of players that DeRosa and Rowan are. These are guys with experience, guys that been around the game, and you can't teach that. And bringing a kid up from the minor leagues that hasn't gone through that, putting him on a ball club that is expected to get to the postseason.
Ball gets away from Ellis. Here comes Shearholtz, and he will score the 5th run of the game for the Giants.
Well, and this was another thing that Bruce Bochy, the manager of the Giants, was talking about when catching a knuckle. I mean, there's just no upside. So you miss it, and then you get the home fans booing, going, oh, whoa, whoa. You know, it's just not a fun day to catch.
A 4-run third. Runner on second for Velez. Carlos Monasterios is getting loose in the Dodger bullpen. There's a good look at Aaron Rowan. Once again hit last night in the helmet by a Vicente Padilla pitch. Small facial fractures. He's being reevaluated today. This ball popped up, and DeWitt is going to snag it for out number 2. Now, if you didn't see it, here's what happened with Aaron Rowan last night in the 5th. Slight concussion, if there is such a thing, and minor facial fractures for Aaron Rowan. And we remember what happened with him with the Phillies a few years ago as he crashed into the fence, and Bruce Bochy told us the injury's kind of in the same area where he got that bloody mess.
No, but he was also telling us that Aaron Rowan wants to be in the lineup tomorrow. You know, I mean, ready to play, and you know, not sure yet what they are going to do with him. But knowing his mentality, he wants to be out there.
Swing and a miss for Edgar Renteria, who is 1 for 2. He struck out with the bases loaded back in the 2nd. The 1-1 from Hager. Swing and a miss. You can see Edgar Renteria almost talking to himself right now. This is a guy that's got almost 2,200 career base hits and still a little befuddled. The 87th pitch of the afternoon for Charlie Hager. In the dirt. Good stop by Ellis. Hager had spent a few years in the White Sox organization, then after 2002 quit altogether. Went on to play golf at Madonna University in Michigan before resuming his baseball career. And here continuing to struggle with his command. He went 3 years between victories, picking up his first one with the White Sox in 2006, and then his second big league win last year with the Dodgers. He has figured out Edgar Renteria, but the rest of them, including Tim Lincecum, part of the 4 spot here in the 3rd. Giants lead it 5-0. Giants Cy Young Award winner Tim Lincecum has knocked in 3 of the 5 Giants runs, and look at this number. That is bad news for the Dodgers. The Giants 29-0 when they've given Lincecum 4 runs of support.
What happens when he gets 5? It's a rhetorical question.
You're the comedy guy. I see you working.
You might be going there pretty soon.
A.J. Ellis, it's been a nightmare for him behind the plate. It's not going to get a whole lot more fun facing Lincecum. Lincecum 42-17 in his career. ERA under 2.9, and gets this one popped up on the infield. Juan Uribe really battling the sun there and squeezes it. Well, here's the other back-to-back Cy Young Award winners in the National League. Sandy Koufax. Greg Maddux did it 4 times. First time with the Cubs, the last 3 with the Braves. And then Randy Johnson out in Arizona. They just handed him the plaque before the season even started. And now the last 2 for Tim Lincecum. Oddly enough, though, he did not finish with the most first-place votes last year. That went to Adam Wainwright, who finished 3rd behind Chris Carpenter and Lincecum. So Charlie Hager, who has struggled so far out on the mound, is getting a chance to hit. A little surprising for you?
No, you've got to have the guy get out there and eat up innings today. You don't want to get into the bullpen this early in the game because it impacts what you can do tomorrow. And that's the thing about baseball. You can't always manage for that particular game. I mean, sometimes you're making moves, for tomorrow's game, 2 days out. And that's what Joe Torre's doing right now.
Well, the Dodgers will wrap up the homestand tomorrow. Kershaw against Zito, and then they are off on a 9-game road trip.
There's Clayton Kershaw right there, Barry Zito. 2 left-handers.
The Dodgers will start a series at Cincinnati on Tuesday, then off to Washington and wrap it up at Citi Field in New York. The Giants will move on to San Diego from here. Charlie Hager's actually done a nice job in this at-bat, working the count full.
Yeah, I'm wondering why you messing around with the breaking pitches. Just, boom, boom, boom. Let's get the Charlie Hager out of there and then move on. You got a 5-0 lead.
Well, that's not much messing around right there.
No, and that's, for all intents and purposes, it should be 3 of those and go sit down.
3rd strikeout on the afternoon for Tim Lincecum.
You see, he hides the ball really well. As a hitter, you really see in his backside. You still don't pick the ball up until he gets his arm up over his head. And that doesn't give you a lot of reaction time. Straight over the top.
2 down for the leadoff man, Jamie Carroll. He struck out to start the game for the Dodgers. Signed him to a multi-year deal in the offseason. Spent the last few years playing in Cleveland. Sends one back from whence it came, and so a base hit for Jamie Carroll. First one on the afternoon for the Dodgers. Well, for exclusive information, analysis, breaking news, and the rest, all the fun and games, please follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Facebook.com/Fox Sports, Twitter.com/MLB on Fox, MySpace as well, MySpace.com/Fox Sports. Eric Karros, a regular contributor.
That I am.
How about today? You've been doing your due diligence?
I've been focusing on a baseball game. Got any tweeting yet?
I've done some twitching, not a lot of tweeting up here. 2 down for James Loney. Grounded out to second back in the 1st. Looks at a called strike. That was nasty. Lincecum last year, 15 wins. Fewest wins ever for a starter that went on to win the Cy Young Award. He is ahead of the count, 0-2 on Loney. There you can see it. Fewest wins by a Cy Young Award winner. One less than Webb and Greinke. Greinke, of course, won it last year. He is off to a sluggish start, getting beat last night up in Minnesota. James Loney makes it back-to-back base hits. So the Dodgers now trying to put something together with 2 down.
But James Loney, a hitter up there with a plan, never tries to do too much. He tries to put the bat on the ball. Here he's got a 2-strike approach. This ball up in the zone, just shoots it out to left field. You know, that's the thing we talked about earlier. Very similar to Mark Grace. He's going to put the bat on the ball. He's not afraid to hit with 2 strikes. You know, a great compliment to this lineup.
Worst guys to be compared to than Mark Grace, who had more hits than anybody in baseball in the 1990s. So 2 down for Andre Ethier, and he gets under this one on the first pitch. So back-to-back base hits for the Dodgers, but no damage done. Lincecum and the Giants lead at 5-0. By the all-new 2011 Super Duty, built Ford tough. By Avodart. And by Valvoline. Guarantee your engine up to 300,000 miles. Well, this well-oiled machine that is the San Francisco offense, the early going in 2010, has helped build a 5-0 lead for Tim Lincecum. Pablo Sandoval walked in the first, struck out with the bases loaded to end the second, and here lifts one to left, and that is going to be a fair ball. Sandoval is going to try and stretch it for 2, and the throw will not be in time.
Listen, knuckleball here just kind of darts in on the hands a little bit. He shoots it the other way and hustling all the way. This ball just fair. Garrett Anderson getting a nice little hop there and getting it in, but Sandoval from the get-go, I think he doubled.
4th double on the season for Sandoval, and 4th straight inning. The Giants have the leadoff man on for Aubrey Huff. Signed a 1-year, $3 million deal in the offseason. Split last year between Baltimore and Detroit. Looks at another ball. Huff, can he provide that pop that is so desperately needed in this lineup? 5 times at least 20 homers in a season, twice over 30. And that's playing in much smaller ballparks in the American League. 3. And Hager behind 3-0.
Well, I think his responsibility in this lineup is just to elongate it, not to go up there and swing and miss and make the pitcher work. I mean, if he hits a home run, great. But his primary responsibility, go up to the plate, give the Giants a good at-bat. Remember this ball club last year, they had a bunch of free swingers, and that was one thing that had to change.
And for the second straight time, Aubrey Huff takes a walk. Well, in between innings, we caught up with Giants manager Bruce Bochy and asked him about, well, not only the pitching of Tim Lincecum.
Hey, he's doing quite a job, isn't he, with the bat? Perfect bunt there, and then he got the 1-0 fastball, drove it. He's having a good day so far. Let's keep it up, Timmy.
Boch, talk a little bit about the additions of Mark DeRosa and Aubrey Huff and how they impact your ball club.
Well, they're two professional players, hitters. They help this lineup, and the fact that they help grind out the opposing pitcher a little bit more. We know we're a free swinging club, but they have good discipline at the plate, and they have the ability to drive and run. So it has stretched out our lineup and made it that much better. And they're great in the clubhouse. They're a lot of fun to be around. They have really helped just loosen the guys up.
Coach, most importantly, yesterday you celebrated a birthday. What was the best gift you got?
Well, it wasn't the first 2 innings of that game. I know that, but really it was a tough day because we lost Rowan. It looks like he'll go on the DL. But I think the last 8 years, I think I may have 2 wins on my birthday, so I'd like to skip it next year.
All right, Boch, thanks very much.
All right, guys, thanks for having me on.
Bochy turned 55 on Friday. His counterpart, Joe Torre, just made a pitching change as Charlie Hager does not make it out of the 4th inning. Carlos Montesterios is now on the mound.
Well, the thing that's disappointing for the Dodgers, they were hoping that Charlie Hager would give them innings. Montesterios, a Rule 5 pick, he was drafted away from the Philadelphia Phillies by the New York Mets and then traded over to the Los Angeles Dodgers. But he's got to give them some innings. He's got to go out there and eat up 2 or 3. Because, again, it's not so much about thinking that you can win this ball game. It's about saving that bullpen for tomorrow. Got a game against the Giants. Barry Zito on the hill, Clayton Kershaw. And this is, again, we talked about it earlier. You're not just managing for the specific game.
So Montesterios making his 4th big league appearance. Well, Chevy and Scott's are building diamonds and dreams. See how the kids could win a ballpark makeover, and you could actually win a brand new Chevy. Find out by logging on to ChevyBaseball.com. Well, the Dodgers need Carlos Montesterios to mow him down. Sandoval doubled to lead off the 4th. Aubrey Huff walked, and that was it, as Joe Torre then walked to the mound. And the Giants are going to have a pinch hitter for Mark DeRosa. It is Andres Torres. DeRosa banged up a little bit in the 3rd inning with an awkward slide into 2nd. Did play the field in the bottom of the frame, but now has been removed. Bunt by Torres, popped up in the air. And Montesterios flips it as DeWitt with the bare hand and makes the play.
Well, really a nice play. Montesterios gets off the mound well. Almost looks like there's going to be a collision with James Loney. Boom, he flips it. Blake DeWitt doing a nice job of staying with the ball, able to barehand it. Really a nice play by DeWitt. You know, he's got James Loney shielding him. Then again, he's looking at Montesterios. Beyond him, he's got the fans, and they're in their white shirts. Tough to pick up the ball. Really a nice play by the second baseman.
But the bunt by Torres does its job. Moves the runners up to second and third for Benji Molina. Singled and scored back in the second. Hit by a pitch and scored in the third. And now the Giants hitters have to adjust from the knuckleball to a guy that's your basic pitcher. How tough is that?
Well, probably happy that they didn't have to have a few more at-bats off Hager, because you don't want to be put into a funk. You know, now fortunately you go up there, you're just sitting on a ball, maybe see one or two pitches before you go up and swing. You know, that's something that, you know, you can't be afraid to hit with 2 strikes or hit, you know, or go up to the plate and take a few pitches, because that can be very beneficial. You can gain your timing up at the plate. You don't go up there and say, oh, there's a strike, I'm swinging at it. Won't find yourself in the big leagues very long.
Count even at 1-1. Montesterios, 24 years old, out of Venezuela. And really kind of still an infant in baseball terms. Didn't pick up the game until he was 17. Only pitched 7 1/3 innings above A ball in his career, and now making the leap to the big leagues. Ball lifted down the first base line. Ethier charging, and he can't quite get it. Sandoval scores. Huff moves on over to third.
You see this ball runs in on Molina's hands. He just fists it out there, and you can see Ethier running in and Loney running out. That spot on the field, too, very difficult with the sun in the day game. Can lose many of balls over there. And there, I think he probably just lost it in the sun for a bit, because it just clanks off the glove there.
Didn't even come close to the leather.
No.
That one caught all skin.
Wrist. Yep.
8th base hit of the afternoon for the Giants. Runners at the corners for Juan Uribe. Didn't get cheated there. Uribe walked back in the second. Flew out in the third.
And if you're the Giants right now, you've got a comfortable 6-0 lead. You've got Tim Lincecum out on the mound. You'd think, okay, well, let's just kind of, you know, coast the rest of the way through. But they want to continue to apply pressure on the Dodgers.
Kemp charging, gloves it, and the Gold Glover has it. It will go in the books as a sac fly as Huff scores from third, but Matt Kemp saves at least an out.
Well, a nice play by the Gold Glover. Gets a good jump, comes running in, makes a nice catch. You know, also impressive there, Aubrey Huff at third base. You see Matt Kemp extending to make that catch. Aubrey Huff at third base, never even leaving, just standing right at third base, because if Kemp does catch it, tag up, easily walk in. If it bounces off of his glove, can easily walk in. A lot of guys sometimes will be off the bag 3, 4, 5 steps. If he catches it, then you got to run back. You don't score.
9th RBI on the season for Uribe. Sherholtz a big cut. 1 for 2, singled and scored back in the third. The Dodgers bullpen, as they get into it today in the 4th inning, it's going to go through some adjustments, possibly as early as Tuesday. Hung-Chi Kuo expected to come off the disabled list. He's been out with a sore elbow. He could rejoin the team in Cincinnati. Ronald Belisario, who was very solid for them last year, reported to spring training 5 weeks late this year, visa issues. some other problems. He's still working on his command down in the minors. So reinforcements are on the way for Joe Torre.
Reinforcements, but you still will have some questions with both of those pitchers. You know, Quo has had 2 Tommy John surgeries. Belisario is still trying to find his location.
Well, the Dodgers are down to touchdown. Can the hottest hitter in baseball get him back? Matt Kemp to the dish. Well, not exactly what you want to see if you're a Dodgers fan. Down 7-0 to the 2-time NL Cy Young Award winner Tim Lincecum. Matt Kemp, a big swing and a miss. Kemp struck out to end the first. Eugenio Velez has moved from center to left to replace the injured Mark DeRosa. Andres Torres, who pinch hit at the top of the frame, is now in center. Kemp, as you can see, hitting .326 in the early part of the year. 5 homers already.
That's a great changeup right there. You see Matt Kemp way out in front. You know, and as I mentioned earlier, with a guy like Lincecum, you figure you may have 3 or 4 at-bats. You'll probably get in all those at-bats 3 pitches to hit.
And Kemp goes down quietly for the second time. In between half innings, we caught up with Dodgers skipper Joe Torre, who said Charlie Hager just didn't have it today.
Yeah, but in all fairness, you know, we had him up in the bullpen a couple of times. He pitched out of the bullpen between that start and this one. So, you know, you certainly have to give him a little wiggle room for that. But he did have trouble getting the knuckleball over the plate, and that sort of disarms him a little bit.
The bullpen, a bit of a story this early part of the season, but it appears reinforcements on the way, maybe as early as next week.
Yeah, I think on this road trip we may get help from a couple of sources. Belisario seems to be coming around, and Quo will throw another inning tomorrow, and hopefully that goes well. So, you know, we figure to get a little better, because that was our strength last year. I mean, our bullpen was a major part of why we did well.
All right, Joe, thanks for the time. We appreciate it.
All right, guys.
Well, it's the bats that'll have to get him back in today's game. Garrett Anderson, 0 for 1. Ball pop foul. Sandoval giving chase. Reaches the Dodgers dugout.
I always find that funny. You look at that Dodger dugout right there. Not one guy gets up to help or direct or anything like that. Everybody just sitting. And that's always the case when you're a player on the field and you run to the opponent's side or to their dugout. You think you're going to make a play. The one thing you can guarantee, you're not going to get any help from
this
the opposing
rivalry.
team.
Ball popped back foul and out of play. Not one guy, as you played all those years at first base here in Dodger Stadium and that visiting dugout. Not one guy helped you out. A former teammate.
Nah, nobody. I'm telling you, that was just the way things were. I mean, I remember playing in the Astrodome. Caminiti ran in the dugout and ran down the line, and our guys moved out of the way, made the catch. Tommy had about a heart attack. Like, you got to be kidding me. You got to be taking him out.
Back-to-back strikeouts for Tim Lincecum, 5 on the afternoon. That'll bring up Ronnie Belliard, who lined out to center back in the second. Belliard couldn't check it in time. Pretty effortless so far for Tim Lincecum.
Well, hasn't been in any trouble. Has been staked to a great lead, or I should say staked himself to a great lead.
Lincecum with 3 RBIs on the day. About to throw his 60th pitch of the afternoon.
You know, we talked about it. Tim Lincecum throwing on 5 days rest. Could have thrown yesterday. The Giants had an off day, but you could have thrown him Friday, and Barry Zito today, Matt Cain Sunday.
Were you surprised by that?
A bit. I was. I know it's early on in the season, but, you know, the Dodgers haven't been playing that well. You know they're going to get better. You see Dave Righetti right there. And, you know, I thought maybe that they'd come in here and just try to really stomp on the Dodgers, take 3, throw their best 3. But Bruce Bochy electing to give Wellmeyer the start, you know, figuring that it's early in the year. We don't want to burn anybody out or overuse anybody. Wellmeyer's going to get an opportunity to have that fit spot. But still, I don't anticipate the Dodgers to be playing as they have these first 10 games. And I think they'll get better defensively. I think the pitching will iron itself out. As Joe Torre mentioned, the bullpen gets better. You know, you don't want to give them any life.
Ball lifted to right. Scherholtz comes in, squeezes it. Tim Lincecum, 2 more Ks, and everything is A-OK with the Giants ace. 7-0 Giants over the Dodgers, top of the 5th. Tim Lincecum doing his best Babe Ruth impression today, not only throwing it out on the mound, but 2 for 2, his first multi-hit game of his career. He's driven in 3 of the 7 runs. Make it 3 for 3 for 55. And time right now for a DirecTV game break, and for that we go north to the border. It's Howie Kendrick off of Brian Talent, his first homer of the year. That in the first, a 2-run shot. But wait, there's more in the second. Juan Rivera, his 3rd of the year. The Angels beat the Blue Jays 6-3, win their first series of the year. The only way to watch every MLB game in HD, call 1-800-DIRECTV. So Lincecum on for the 3rd time. And Eugenio Velez slaps one to left center, and that one is going to fall.
Again, we talked about it. You know, this game doesn't look favorable, obviously, for the Dodgers, down 7-0 and against Lincecum, but still very important to play as if this is a 0-0 ball game. Put the Giants down offensively, because if they start scoring runs, then that's going to force Joe Torre to get somebody up in the bullpen. That bullpen has been depleted. It's been overworked. You don't want to start jeopardizing tomorrow.
This is the 5th straight inning the first 2 Giants have reached base.
Is that good? Is that good if the first 2 hitters?
Well, it is if you're San Francisco, I suppose. That's a good question. That's what we want our analysts asking here at Fox. So Edgar Renteria, he hits one to left. Anderson giving chase, and he does not make the catch. So they're going to get a force out at 3rd. They're going to get one at 2nd. Now, how many outs do they have here? It doesn't even look like the umpires know exactly. This one's going to be interesting.
Well, it should be at least a double play. The runner Lincecum should be out. Velez should be out. Both on force outs. Renteria should be safe at first.
So now Joe Torre getting an explanation. At first, Dan Iasonia said Garrett Anderson caught the ball. Then when it rolled away, he said no, he didn't. So obviously, Eric, that is a fair ball.
But what he's saying, and see, the signal he made is that it was a fair ball. That's what I think the confusion was. He doesn't make the catch, so he's saying safe there, and then he's calling fair ball. So here, out at 3rd, now throw it, touch 2nd. You're out at 2nd, and now see Renteria just beats the throw to first base. So you've got a double play. Runners are out at 2nd and 3rd on force outs. Renteria should be safe at first base. That was almost a triple play, force out at each thing. And, you know, it's that conventional one that you always have, you know?
Yes, if you're scoring at home, good luck, because I'm not explaining it. So let's just look one more time. Garrett Anderson giving chase.
See, what happens right there, he doesn't catch the ball. Iasonia, the 3rd base umpire, is just signaling safe, but it's a fair ball. Now, Lincecum out at 3rd base. Velez out at 2nd base. You see, he thinks there's a catch. So, I'm going to go back. He's watching Anderson, doesn't watch the umpire there.
And you can understand what Lincecum was thinking, because at first the ball is in the mid, and then it rolls away, and he's probably blocked from it.
Right. Well, what's interesting now, though, is why isn't Velez out at 2nd base? That's what I don't understand.
Well, that's mind-boggling. That one doesn't make sense. So Bruce Bochy. So here's Lincecum. Now he realizes the ball got away, and he was forced out at 3rd before they threw to 2nd, and DeWitt stepped on 2nd before Velez even got there, which would
That's what it appeared does. Right there. Now, they're out. So he should have been out right there. Velez should have been out on the force out. The umpires just missed that call right there.
Regulation.
So Bruce Bochy, who came out to get an explanation, actually wins this one, even though it might not be right. So Velez is standing on second. Renteria is on first. And the force was 7-5 if you are scoring. And Sandoval looks at a strike. Sandoval has now hit safely in 10 of the 11 games to start 2010. I remember Bruce Bochy telling us last year what a positive vibe this guy brought to the clubhouse. Totally, really changed the dynamic in there. And then you layer it on with veterans like DeRosa and Huff, and you've got the makings of a great clubhouse.
Well, that's one thing Bruce Bochy is excited about for this year. A group of good guys. You've got baseball players. You've got a lot of talent as well. You know, the key thing for him is just to maintain the health. They're not very deep. You know, if you have some of your guys go down, it's not as if you can delve into the minor leagues and bring guys that are ready to compete at a high level right now. Outside of Buster Posey, a catcher, you don't have a lot of position guys that can step right in.
The 1-2 pitch to Sandoval. Ball lifted into center. Two down.
First baseman, number 17, Aubrey Huff.
Well, here is today's Verizon game summary. And it has been all about Tim Lincecum out on the mound and at the dish. Charlie Hager, the knuckleballer for the Dodgers, just didn't have it. Giving up 5 runs in 3+ innings. Aubrey Huff flew out in the first and has walked and scored twice since then. Huff's best season back in 2003 with Tampa. Hit .311, 34 homers, 107 RBIs. Wasted away a couple years in Baltimore. Then dealt before the deadline to Detroit last year, where he was primarily a pinch hitter, really not used a whole lot by Jim Leyland down the stretch. Hit only a .189 and a little bit over 100 at bats with Detroit. Now the everyday first baseman. Fouled back behind the plate.
See Lincecum trying to stay cool out on those base paths all day. Think he's got that early lock on player of the game, or you think he's got that locked already?
Well, he might have had it before he stepped out there. I think he's really kind of solidified his status in the 4.5 innings since then. You know, hopefully Mark Burley started him this week if he drafted him in his fantasy baseball league. I know that Burley actually plays fantasy baseball. He plays in National League only. Something we found out on the cheap seats as we talked to Burley's catcher A.J. Pierzynski. Something you can see every Tuesday on FoxSports.com. DeWitt gloves it. And a strange inning with players running all over the place. Which way do we go? Can I get a GPS out here? The Giants lead it 7-zip. Experience Lowe's. Let's build something together. And the Giants, thanks to Tim Lincecum, have built a nice 7-0 lead as they move out of the bottom of the 5th. Blake DeWitt grounded out to end the 2nd. He is ahead on the count 2-0. Ramon Ortiz getting loose in the bullpen for the Dodgers. DeWitt rips one fouled on the first base line. Montesterio scheduled to hit 3rd this inning. You know, Lincecum, one of those guys that you are going to stop. He's what I call a channel stopper. And there aren't a lot of pitchers in baseball that do that, but you're doing something, you flip around. This is a guy you want to watch because it's a lot like Pedro was a decade ago. Something special could happen every time out, and that is special because that is the first time this season a leadoff batter has gotten on base against Tim Lincecum in 19 tries. Well, tomorrow NASCAR on Fox will bring you Sprint Cup Series racing from Texas as Jeff Gordon tries to defend his title, take home the checkered flag for the 2nd straight year. Covered from the Texas Motor Speedway, 2 Eastern, 11 Pacific, in high def tomorrow on Fox. Who is it? Bobby Cox that is in the NASCAR Fantasy League each and every week, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but you know everybody that's in the fantasy league. You got the Burley, the Bobby Cox.
Have you checked the scoreboard today?
Are you fantasy league?
No. I'm like one of the guys that doesn't play. Pay attention, but just don't play it. A.J. Ellis looks at ball 1. Popped out to 2nd in his only appearance. But would you agree with me about Lincecum that he's a guy that every time you see him, you got to sit and kind of admire what you're watching?
Well, again, because it just doesn't make a lot of sense. You know, you look at him, and again, 160 pounds, under 6 foot tall, got that long hair, the necklace, and you know, a lot of movement, the windup. But he's entertaining, and one of the best in the game.
There's a ball low. So Lincecum behind on the count, 3-0. Casey Blake in the on-deck circle to hit for Montesterios. Joe Torre compared Lincecum to Greg Maddux with a much more live fastball, but just in terms of the stature and the way he commands himself out there on the mound. Fair?
I think it's fair. Lincecum got more on it, a little more velocity, and you know, I'm not sure about Greg Maddux, 4 pitches, could throw at any time, and you know, as Tommy Lasorda used to say, Maddux could have hit a gnat in the
I got you.
Gnat in the butt.
Second walk of the afternoon given up by Tim Lincecum. He had given up only 1 free pass in his first 14 innings of work this year.
Well, and there's something to be said. This is a day game. He's been out on the base paths 3 different times today. Been out there for a prolonged period, one time standing around out there. You know, you factor all of that in, and you know, it doesn't matter if you have a 7-0 lead or it's 1-0. He's got to have, you know, a bit of fatigue.
Now the question is the right guy hitting? Casey Blake 0 for 9 with 6 strikeouts all time against Tim Lincecum. Looks at one upstairs.
Well, I think at this stage of the game, we're only in the 5th inning. You know, Joe doesn't want to, you know, use up somebody that may be important later on, whether it's a Manny or a Furcal. You can't use Russell Martin in this situation. He's your backup catcher. You know, not to say that Casey Blake is the sacrificial lamb, but he's the sacrificial lamb.
But if a guy like Manny is available, I mean, he's probably not going to be able to play the outfield anyway, so you're just talking about a guy that can swing, and that's it. So here, you must be thinking double switch or something.
It's possible. Got more options. Using Casey Blake. But again, for me, Manny is a guy to tie a game or win a game, not to get you back in the game.
Oh. Now, Bruce Bochy wanted that one.
And you see Casey Blake offer it.
Fouled away, so Blake stays alive. DeWitt at second. He singled to start the frame. A.J. Ellis walked. And now a 2-2 count on the pinch hitter, Casey Blake. Dirt, good play by Molina.
You see, look at the off speed right there, the splitter. You can see the spreading of the two fingers. That ball just drops.
The 3-2 pitch. Ball ripped foul down the third baseline. Swing and a miss for strikeout number 6 for Tim Lincecum. The time right now for a DirecTV game break. For that, we send it to Chris Rose. All right, Chris, thank you. In the Bronx, it's Alex Rodriguez. Dead central, passing Mark McGwire for sole possession of 8th place on the all-time home run list with number 584. Hold on to that one, buddy. It's worth something. 7-3, your final. Only way to watch every baseball game in HD, call 1-800-DirecTV.
Chris, back to you.
Hey, listen, with me, you don't know who you're talking to most days. One down for Jamie Carroll. He got the first hit of the afternoon for the Dodgers back in the third. He's already behind 0-2. Back-to-back strikeouts for Tim Lincecum. That is just nasty stuff. But Major League Baseball and People Magazine are looking for individuals who make a difference in their community. 30 everyday All-Stars will be honored at the 2010 All-Star Game in Anaheim. To nominate, simply go to peopleallstars.com.
Well, here you see with the grip, that's a splitter, and not a lot Jamie Carroll can do with it. You know, look, about 5-6 pitches ago, Tim Lincecum looked like he was in a bit of trouble. Here we are, one hitter away from getting out of the inning. It's a testament to his ability, what he has, why he's won the Cy Young Award the last 2 years.
And then to drop that one in on Loney, it just doesn't seem fair what he's doing.
Well, it's not. It's not fair. It's not that it doesn't seem fair. It isn't.
And Lincecum ahead 0-2. James Loney. As you can see, it's apparently not the so friendly confines for James Loney. Last year, only one of his 13 homers was hit here at Dodger Stadium. The 0-2 pitch by Lincecum to Loney.
Well, an important at bat, just that you want to get the on deck hitter, Andre Ether, who has had a bit of success against Lincecum, up to the plate.
Ball tapped on a couple of hops to Uribe. Dodgers get the first two on, but don't get anybody home. 7-0 Giants. Michelin, a better way forward. By Verizon, the network with the most 3G coverage. And by Chevy. Every model is backed by a 5-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. Andres Torres to bat for the second time this afternoon. He took over for the injured Mark DeRosa, who in the third, trying to leg this one out. An error by Jamie Carroll in the not-so-sweet slide into second. Might have tweaked the hamstring. Stayed in and played left field in the bottom of the third, but then left after that. So we're getting a report from the Giants. It is a strained hamstring for DeRosa. As the Dodgers have a new pitcher. It is Ramon Ortiz out on the mound. Taking over for Carlos Monasterios, who pitched fairly well in 2 innings. Ortiz, 36 years old, appearing now in his 7th game this season. Last year he was in the starting rotation for the Giants AAA affiliate. Torres fouls that one right off himself.
Yeah, off his leg. That does not feel good right there. That was high leg. That wasn't an ankle or anything. Nothing worse than doing that while you're up at the plate. It's almost like wherever you hit it has its own heartbeat. You see, that's up. That's a knee. That's a knee. That's not an ankle. That's a knee. And I don't know how many of you out there have a lot of meat around the knee, but that's all bone. That hurts.
Well, he'll get a chance to go ice it back at the bench right now after the strikeout. Ortiz, one of those guys, signed a minor league deal the offseason. He pitched in Japan in 2008. But this guy was a pretty accomplished pitcher with the Angels. Actually won Game 3 of the World Series against the Giants in 2002. Won 16 games a year later. He's still trying to feel his way back into the bigs, and now he's back here for the first time since 2007.
Yeah, and always has been a starter. Obviously now a different role. But that just kind of speaks to the Dodger bullpen right now, whether it's Weaver or either one of the Ortizes, Russ or Ramon. As we saw earlier, Carlos Monasterio. I mean, those are 3 guys that signed minor league deals. Monasterio's a Rule 5 where he was drafted. He's got to stay in the big leagues. You know, just not a lot of depth there right now. Relatively thin, but as Joe Torre mentioned, help could be on the way, and Quo and Belisario this week.
There's a strike to Benji Molina. Productive afternoon for Molina. 2 for 2, a couple singles. Also hit by a pitch. He scored a couple of runs. Ball popped up. Loney calling for it. 2 up, 2 down. And here is the in-game box score for the Giants. It's brought to you by Toyota. 10 hits on the day. But look at the damage done at top by Eugenio Velez, and then at the bottom by Tim Lincecum, his first multi-hit game of his career.
Well, 5 hits, and these guys are back-to-back. You know, I mean, and that's something that's very important. You think, oh, the number 9 hitter, the first hitter, but you know, essentially, one right after the other, 5 times on base.
Juan Uribe, 0 for 1, a walk and a sac fly. Ortiz, a guy that spent 6 years with the Angels before moving on to Cincinnati, Washington, half a year in Minnesota, Colorado, and now back here pitching with the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Well, and also, you know, 2008, spent a season over in Japan. Tried to make it over there and pitched for the Oryx Blue Wave. Again, as you mentioned, it, you know, pretty darn good pitcher. I remember him facing him. A lot of movement on the fastball, pretty decent slider.
Another one of those guys, a lot like Lincecum in terms of physical stature. Little guy, but he could bring it.
Yeah, good arm, a lot of whip.
And he does a great job for Joe Torre here in the 6th. 3 up and 3 down. The Dodgers are going to try and get something done against the Cy Young winner. I don't think those were single game tickets bought by those two, huh, Eric? Who's going to win in that household? Ethier, Kemp, and Anderson against Tim Lincecum here in the 6th. Lincecum has allowed just 3 hits. He's given up a couple of walks, but has been in control from the get-go. That one Nuke Lelouch on you. Just missing the Durham Bull in the background.
He's got away there.
I got to give the person back there some credit. Not a lot of flinching.
No.
I would have been ducking out to section 213.
Question is, were they awake? That's the kicker.
That's a great question. There you go.
Look at
he's
talking.
busy. Busy.
Not even watching.
No.
Whack! Oh!
That one whacked to short. Renteria, the 2-time Gold Glover, does away with Andre Ethier for the first out. Did you know Valvoline will guarantee your engine up to 300,000 miles? And it seems like the Dodgers can guarantee Matt Kemp gets a homer every time you show up at Dodger Stadium. At least it happened each of the first 4 games. 3 times against the Diamondbacks. He went deep, all of them to center, right center field, and then last night off of Todd Wellemeyer. Not too bad. Valvoline, the first and only motor oil in the industry to guarantee your engine up to 300,000 miles. Kemp, in fact, the first Dodger since Frank Howard in 1964 to hit 5 homers in the first 10 games of the year.
Well, we talked about it earlier. He's really on the verge of becoming, the next great superstar center fielder. And I liken him a lot to an Andrew Jones who patrolled center field for the Braves all those years. He has that type of ability to play the Gold Glove center field, to be a force at the plate. Right now he hits a lot of times in the second spot, but as he matures, he's definitely a number 3 or 4 hitter in any lineup.
Having a rough day against Tim Lincecum, but who isn't?
And I mean that's a thing. I think it's funny. A lot of the guys in the Dodger lineup today are not everyday guys. Hey, I'm getting an opportunity to play. You're facing Lincecum.
Here he puts it in play. Renteria with the backhand to throw, and Kemp is safe. And Matt Kemp will take that, because anytime he puts the ball in play against Tim Lincecum, that's actually a win.
Lincecum by far. Great changeup, great fastball, great everything. Just an all-around great pitcher. Somebody you don't want to face every day.
That's one of those nervous laughs right there.
Sure, you don't want to face him any day. But that's the thing, too. As a hitter, you don't want to give pitchers credit, especially publicly. The reality is he's that good.
Well, Kemp now 2 for 15 with 8 strikeouts all time against Lincecum. Garrett Anderson 0 for 2 with a punch out. Looks at an off-speed pitch for a strike. Anderson spent 14 years with the Angels. Last year with the Braves, where he hit .268 with 13 homers. Signed a minor league deal with the Dodgers. He made his name just down the 5 freeway here in Southern California. Angels all-time leader in games played and hits. 3-time All-Star.
What he does with this ball club, he strengthens it in that he adds depth to this bench. And that's one of the things where the Dodgers have definitely gotten better as compared to the last 2 years under Joe Torre. Reed Johnson, this man, Garrett Anderson, Jamie Carroll, Ronnie Belliard. All guys that have experience and have been productive at some point in their career.
Ball laced to left. Velez will snag it for out number 2. Well, here's the in-game box score for the Dodgers. It is brought to you by Toyota. Not a lot of hits in that lineup. A lot of offers. And not one extra base hit allowed by Lincecum.
Well, and as we talked about, only one time did they get the leadoff hitter on in an inning. It broke Lincecum's string of, what was it, 19 innings?
Yeah, it had been the first 18.
First 18.
Yeah.
Look, you're not going to win every game. There are games where you're going to have to say, look, if we get a few breaks, we're going to get a shot. This wasn't a great matchup. And I think the game is played out the way a lot of people probably expected. But again, it's a 162 game season. Not going to win them all.
Belliard, a guy for Joe Torre that's versatile. So not only a lot of veteran guys out there, you've got Carroll that can play several positions for him. Belliard, in fact, there's talk that he might even play a little first base. Doesn't get cheated up there a whole lot. How about Tim Lincecum's line for the season? 19 2/3 innings, 24 strikeouts, 3 walks.
Well, and as we talked about, 2 of those walks today.
Ball popped up and out of play. Now, how long do you, if you're Bruce Bochy and Dave Righetti, the pitching coach, how long do you go with Lincecum with the game well in hand?
Well, I think maybe this is his last inning. At the most, you maybe start him off the first part of the next inning, but I think this has got to be it. The problem, you go to your bullpen, and the bullpen is a strength of the Giants, but the Dodgers, they have Manny Ramirez on the bench still. They have Furcal. They have Russell Martin.
Ball hit to center. Torres snags it on a line, and that'll do it. So the Giants up 7-0 as we move to the 7th. We'll return to L.A. after a word from your local Fox station. Let's build something together. 7-0 Giants as we move to the 7th. Owen Ortiz on for his second inning of work. Nate Scherholtz 1 for 3 with a run scored. And you take a look at the on-deck circle, and here comes Babe Ruth. Tim Lincecum, who in addition to pitching shutout ball through 6, has 3 hits, 3 RBIs as well.
Well, do you have a better hitter on the bench
No,
right now?
Listen, just let him keep going. I mean, if this is a video game, I'm keeping him in.
Right.
And he does have that extra day of rest. He's working on 5 days rest. Does that factor into the equation at all?
No. I think, but in all honesty, it's you want to get one more inning possibly out of Lincecum because, again, the Dodger bench, there's still a lot of guys out there. And while the bullpen for the Giants has been effective, you got some younger guys down there before you get to Affeldt and Wilson. And we saw last night, the Dodgers had a 7-2 lead, 9-2 lead, I believe. A 10-8 ball game.
But that's also with a bullpen that's struggling.
It's true, but again, we look at the Dodgers and what they have left. And I still, with Manny on the bench, and Russell, and Furcal.
Well, if you're Bruce Bochy, as Sherholtz draws a leadoff walk. Well, now it's time for the Just for Men Keep Your Edge spotlight, and it's the pitcher turned hitter, Tim Lincecum. The RBI bunt single to get the Giants on the scoreboard, then he rips one to the alley for 2 more RBIs, part of a 3-hit day for Tim Lincecum. So just as Tim Lincecum gives the Giants the edge, you too can keep your edge with Just for Men mustache and beard. Well, Lincecum with the Giants bench a little depleted maybe over the next few days, and maybe Bruce Bochy can turn to this guy for pinch hitting duties.
Well, he's doing it today.
The last Giants pitcher with a 4-hit day, Livan Hernandez, back in 2001. So Lincecum looking to add his name to the record books in a hitting category.
Well, you see on that right arm, he's got an arm pad over the elbow, and it's not because he's hurt it, but that's what's facing the pitcher. And that's his pitching arm. Very rarely do you have that where a right-handed pitcher bats left-handed.
Well, there's the punch out, so Lincecum is not perfect on this day. Hey, do us all a favor. Why don't you log on to foxsports.com on MSN every Tuesday, 1 Eastern, 10 Pacific. And guess what? It's lunch with benefits. I host a show called The Cheap Seats. It's foxsports.com. It's where we Skype with the biggest names in all of baseball. This week, CC Sabathia of the Yankees, Torrey Hunter of the Angels. Velez lifts one to center, Kemp back, and he can't make the play. Sherholtz races around third. He's going to score, and Velez ends up at second with a double. Nothing cheap about that shot.
Look at you see Velez head right on it. Gets extension. Now Matt Kemp made great effort. Not worried about the walk. Boom. Hustles after it. So he's watching it. Makes the leap. He knows those walls are padded. Still doesn't always feel that good when you're going head first into the wall. But a lot better. These walls used to just be wood. Was no padding.
A 3-hit day for Velez, who's been on base 4 times, and now it's Edgar Renteria, 1 for 4 with a single back in the first. Renteria's next hit will be the 22nd 100 of his career. 5-time All-Star, 6 times he's made the playoffs. Had the winning hit in the 1997 World Series for the Marlins. That ball gets past Ellis. Velez moves on over to third. But you start looking at some of the numbers that a guy like Renteria has compiled over the years. Whether it's out in San Francisco, or Detroit, or Atlanta, Boston, or Florida. This is a solid career.
No question. A very consistent player. Guy that's gone out there and played a pretty darn solid shortstop. Will give you some offense as well. Guy that you can rely on.
Ball laced down the left field line. Anderson gives chase and gloves it. It'll go down in the books as a sac fly as Velez scores, and Giants lead at 9-0, but a great effort by Garrett Anderson on those 37-year-old legs.
Well, and that's the second time Edgar Renteria has hit one down the line. Remember the last time that it happened was that quirky play, runners on first and second. Anderson had it in the glove, and it came out this time. Wasn't getting out of his glove.
A 2 down now for Pablo Sandoval. It's a 1 inside. Sandoval, not only is he a switch hitter at the plate, apparently he throws equally well with his right and his left hand. Tim Lincecum appears to be shaking hands with his catcher Benji Molina. Maybe he is done as Guillermo Moto is getting loose in the Giants' pen.
Well, nice line for him. 6 innings pitch, only 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. And of course, the big zeros. No runs, no earned runs.
Do we go best pitcher in baseball?
Right up there. I go with, after today's performance, the legend just continues to grow.
You must be this tall to grab the top of the dugout. Swing and a miss for Sandoval. But the Giants tack on 2 more. Their Cy Young winner is up 9-0. Blu-ray and DVD April 22nd by Toyota and by Sharp Quatron TV technology. You have to see it to see it. Well, it's Tim Lincecum singing a happy tune this afternoon at Dodger Stadium. He is done after 6 innings of work, replaced by the former Dodger, Guillermo Mota, on for the 5th time this season, and he's been spectacular out of the bullpen so far.
Well, he really has, and he's filled many roles. He's been a closer at a certain point in his career. He was a setup man for a few years when Eric Gagne was closing out games for the Los Angeles Dodgers. But he's a veteran guy, has an excellent arm, is very durable. A nice addition to this already strong pitching staff of the San Francisco Giants.
Mota, 36 years old. Last year, called this his home park. He went 3-4, 3.44 ERA in 61 games for Joe Torre out of the pen. It was his second stint in Dodger blue. Originally an undrafted free agent back in 1990 with the New York Mets.
Well, he used to, believe it or not, used to be a shortstop.
That's a big shortstop.
Yeah, that makes Cal Ripken look small and converted to a pitcher.
Blake DeWitt to get the first hacks at his former teammate. DeWitt singled to lead off the 5th, becoming the first player this year to lead off an inning and get on base against Tim Lincecum. He was stranded at second. Mota starts him off with a fastball strike. Rolls one to Renteria. Gloves and throws, and there's one down. Well, next week on Fox Saturday Baseball, A-Rod and the Yankees taking on Torrey Hunter and the Angels. It is a rematch of last year's ALCS. Some of you are going to get a hold of the Mariners and the White Sox. It's Fox Saturday Baseball presented by Lowe's. It returns next week at 4 Eastern and 1 Pacific. Check your local listeners for the game and time in your region. A.J. Ellis, 0 for 1 with a walk. And he looks at a ball. Tough day for Ellis, who spent the first 3+ innings trying to chase down Charlie Hager's knuckleball. Ball hit up the middle and a base hit. First of the season for A.J. Ellis.
Well, that makes the day a bit more tolerable. Getting on the board.
And the Dodgers have a pinch hitter. It is Rafael Furcal, the everyday shortstop.
Attention, please. Pinch hitting for the Dodgers, number 15, Rafael Furcal.
Furcal off to a very solid 2010. After he struggled with his health the last few years, then last year hit a career low 269. Looks at a strike that paints the corner. Well, we saw Ramon Ortiz earlier. This is Russ Ortiz, former Giant, in the Dodger pen. Another ball. Furcal's health critical to the Dodgers this year.
Well, it really is. I mean, when you talk about important pieces of this Dodger lineup, for me, it's Rafael Furcal as probably the most important. You know, you can talk about the Ethier, the Kemp, you know, and even Manny Ramirez, but Furcal at the top of the lineup ignites things. You know, he's liable to hit a double. He can draw a walk, steal a base or two. And on top of that, it plays the shortstop, the most critical position on the field. You know, I don't think it's any coincidence his last 2 years the Dodgers have gone to the playoffs. The first round, they've done well. He's done well.
Sandoval gloves it on one hop, throws, and gets it. How about the Kung Fu Panda?
Well, Sandoval making a very athletic play, getting a good jump on the ball, and then displaying that strong arm. See, boom, he knows for calls running, and he's speedy, gets rid of it, makes a good, strong throw. You know, you look at Pablo Sandoval, and on first glance, you say, man, okay, well, maybe the guy can hit, but there's no way that this guy's athletic and can do a lot of things. But he can, probably one of the most athletic guys out on the field, but certainly doesn't look like it in that uniform.
And a good call by Jerry Meals down there at first, as you saw with our Exmo cam. Jamie Carroll 1 for 3 on the afternoon. A couple of strikeouts, so that was all against Tim Lincecum. This time Mota paints the black to get ahead. Final game of the 3-game set tomorrow afternoon. Barry Zito going for the Giants. Clayton Kershaw for the Dodgers. Kershaw is the guy that many people kind of point to and say if there's going to be one of those 5 starters that's going to make a jump, it's most likely going to be him.
Well, it's because he's got the highest ceiling. Left-hander, great fastball, excellent curveball. But remember, he's young, he's inexperienced, and you know, although he has the potential, you know, it doesn't mean that he's got the experience. The ability's there, but the bottom line is he's got to log innings. And to put those expectations because of his physical ability, it's unrealistic. You know, in time, he will be a number 1. No question about it. Whether or not that's this year or next year or the following, you know, that's the big question mark.
Base hit to right, and they're going to stop Ellis at third, so it'll be runners at the corners with 2 down. The big change for the Dodgers this year with their starting rotation was their decision to not try and re-sign Randy Wolf. The lefty ended up in Milwaukee agreeing to a multi-year deal up there. But that was a guy, he didn't have spectacular eye-popping numbers, but he was an innings eater.
Well, you hit it right on the head. Innings eater. And then the depth of the bullpen last year. I mean, the number 1 ranked bullpen in all of baseball last year in their effectiveness. So then when you don't have the starters or they're not going as deep, plus you're already thin in the bullpen as they are this year, the bullpen gets exposed.
In the meantime, the Giants, they can just run out arm after arm in that bullpen, and then you shut it down with Brian Wilson, who in my opinion is a guy that is really an undervalued closer. I mean, you don't even hear his name brought up as Carroll swipes second without a throw. But when you're talking about the great closers in baseball, maybe it's time we start mentioning his name.
Well, absolutely one of the most effective closers in the game, a hard thrower, and you know, the mentality as well. Wants the ball every time.
Ball hit out to right. Shearer holds under it. And the Dodgers threaten, but they leave 2. We move on to the 8th. It's 9-0 Giants. Well, the Dodgers have their fourth pitcher of the afternoon. It is Russ Ortiz, the former San Francisco Giant, 35-year-old right-hander. Born here in Los Angeles. Grew up in the San Fernando Valley, making his 6th appearance. Not exactly eye-popping numbers there. Start off by facing Huff, then Torres and Molina in the 8th. All low. Ortiz won 63 games for the Giants between 1999 and 2002 before he moved on to Atlanta. Became a 21-game winner. Ball 2. Reed Johnson, the new right fielder, replacing Andre Ethier. And there's a strike. All I remember about Russ Ortiz in that 2002 World Series was Dusty Baker trotting out, Ortiz leaving and begging for the baseball, right?
Game 6,
yeah.
all turned. You know, you talk about Ortiz, very similar to Ramon Ortiz in that an accomplished starter. Russ Ortiz, you know, one of the better starters, very durable, be a guy that would eat up innings. Was very effective for a number of years. You know, trying to establish himself now or hang on in the bullpen. Remember the Diamondbacks signed him to a multi-year deal.
Big deal.
Yep.
Well, he won those 21 games in Atlanta that one year, and since 2003, he's won a total of 25 games. There's a base hit for Huff. Well, it was a tough day for Charlie Hager, the knuckleballer who got the start, went only 3+ innings for the Dodgers. But he was good enough to help us out with this week's edition of The Cheap Seats, which you can see on foxsports.com, coming your way this Tuesday, 1 Eastern, 10 Pacific. He actually showed me how to throw a knuckleball, so he showed me the grip and everything else, and then I took on this challenge. No idea why I'm about to do this, but I'm about to catch a professional knuckleball. Well, this is what it's going to look like on Tuesday. What do you think? You think I'm going to snag that?
Well, if it's that high one that he was throwing today, I think you got a chance.
I got a chance.
It. But if it was that one he was throwing in Florida, I'm guessing there's going to be a bruise somewhere on your body.
So once again, that is the Cheap Seats. Tuesday, 1 Eastern, foxsports.com. In addition to that little segment, CeCe Sabathia and Torrey Hunter will join us as well, as we'll Skype with them. While we were away, Andres Torres actually lined out, so there's one down is Benji Molina. Here's the proof to back it up. As Blake DeWitt snagged it, almost doubled off Huff at first. That'll teach me to sell my show.
I was going to ask you where you got that shirt.
It's been a tough laundry day in the Rose household lately. A tough one. Been on the road a lot, you know. Productive day for Benji Molina with a couple of hits, couple of runs scored. Catching shutout baseball. Popped up. Short right, Johnson. 2 down. Well, once again, if you're just joining us, Charlie Hager worked 3+ innings. Got tagged by the Giants.
Well, he just didn't have it. The knuckleball was not moving, didn't have any real location, was falling behind. And, you know, those first couple innings, he was on a tightrope each inning.
Around to Carroll, goes the short way. So now the Dodgers down 9-0, looking for a little offensive life. By DirecTV, ranked number 1 in customer satisfaction 4 years running. By Lexus, the only luxury car maker with 4 hybrid models. And by Sears Blue Lawn and Garden Crew. 9-0 Giants in the 8th. A bunch of changes for San Francisco. Travis Ishikawa replacing Aubrey Huff at first. Eli Whiteside behind the dish for Benji Molina. And Giants have their third pitcher. It's Dan Runzler, 25-year-old left-hander. Face Reed Johnson. Came on as a defensive replacement in the top of this frame. Runzler, 25 years old, born in Riverside, California. Grew up in West Hills, about 30 miles from here. And isn't ashamed to say that he was a Dodger fan and used to boo Barry Bonds a bunch here. And he gets Reed Johnson on a liner to Uribe. Is that kind of a little strange? You grow up rooting for one team, you end up playing for their arch rival.
Well, I think, just playing in the big leagues, it's easy to change allegiances.
Once that paper starts coming.
Yeah, the first and the 15th, it's a little different.
You might bleed Dodger blue for a little while, but I'll take that green from whatever team wants to print it.
Well, and again, having an opportunity to play in the big leagues. It's funny, though, you mentioned him being a Dodger fan. And talked about, having an Eric Gagne jersey. Sitting out in the seats here.
Tough day for Matt Kemp against Tim Lincecum. Yes, he did beat out an infield single back in the 6th, but struck out back in the 1st and 4th. And barring a major comeback, his last chance to homer in his 5th straight home game to start the year.
I was kidding him before the game. I said, you continue this, people are just going to start to expect it. He just kind of laughed. And, you like the run that he's on right now. Any player will tell you when you're hot, you want to get as many at-bats as possible.
Well, there's another liner. That one to Renteria for out number 2. And hurry in to get your free Scott's MLB Fan Guide available exclusively at Lowe's. Runzler, guy that was running all over the country last year. He played low A ball, single A, double A, triple A, and made it to San Francisco, all in 2009. And gets ahead of Garrett Anderson. Started the year at Augusta, moved to San Jose, then Connecticut and Fresno before finishing the season in San Francisco. He logged more than 11,000 miles on those trips.
Now, the worst thing about that, although you're moving up each level, is the living. Because then you've got to, I've got to find a place to live. You get all set up. You get your gas and electric, the cable, all that stuff turned on, and then, you're gone.
Yeah, it's bad news when first and last month's rent is the same month.
Oh, not good. Yeah, there you go. I mean, that's the thing a lot of people don't understand. That minor league life it's a pain. It's a real nuisance, especially if you're going up and down. It's not just about playing, but you've got, everyday real life issues that you've got to deal with as well.
Swing and a miss, and Dan Runzler makes quick work of the Dodgers. It's 9-0 as we head to the 9th. Over here, I'll take that. The fifth Dodger pitcher of the afternoon is a guy that got to get straightened out. It is left-hander George Sherrill, who turns 33 on Monday. This is a guy who was nails last year after coming over in a midseason trade from the Orioles. But this year it has been a disaster. He has given up 6 earned runs and a little bit over 3 innings worked. Nate Sherholtz, the first to greet him. And Sherrill was a guy you gave the ball to last year if you were Joe Torre in the 8th inning, and he got it right to Broxton. Gave up just 2 earned runs in all his work.
Well, it's funny, too. Last year, Broxton ran into a bit of trouble, and a lot of people here publicly, not within the organization, but fans were calling for George Sherrill to be the closer. That's how good he was last year.
Ball flared out to center, and Kemp squeezes it. Time right now for a DirecTV game break. For that one, we take you to Cleveland, Ohio. Drive down 2-1, but not anymore. As Drupal Cabrera, his first homer of the year, coming off Jake Beebe, who goes for 2 games opening. Then later in the frame, it is Shin-Soo Choo going the right way, which in this case is left center. Grady Sizemore scores what would be the game-winning run, and the Tribe takes it 3-2. Remember, the only way to watch every baseball game in HD, call 1-800-DirecTV.
You know, that's a guy right there, Shin-Soo Choo, that does not get a lot of national recognition.
Well, not if you say his name like that.
Yeah, I mean, well, see, there you go. Let's hear it again.
It's Shin-Soo Choo. It is a tough one. It's not an easy one. I will give you that. It is, but he is
one of the better ball players
that
out
people
there.
don't know.
Gets no recognition.
Well, when you're playing in front of 8,000 like they had there today, everybody was across the
they
street
were the Cavs
watching
game.
the Cavs game.
Yeah.
So Travis Ishikawa stepping in against George Sherrill and looking at an off-speed pitch for a strike. But getting back to Sherrill, this is a guy, when you're talking about bringing people into the bullpen, and they're going to make some changes with Quo and Belisario eventually, get back the real George Sherrill. That will help them.
Well, it will, and he's a guy that, you know, can come in, and it doesn't matter lefty or righty. You can use him on back-to-back days. You know, when Quo comes back, Quo is not going to be a guy that Torre uses on back-to-back days. See this breaking ball here? You know, Quo, because of his medical history, you know, he'll be a guy that will give you 1 inning and he'll have to sit a day. But Sherrill is. He's a key component to this bullpen. You know, and he has to right himself.
Eugenio Velez, 3-hit afternoon. Good day for that guy. Giant lid. LeBron jersey. Where's the headband? And the sweet suede shoes, too, to boot. He's dressed to the nines.
I'm guessing he flew right out from Cleveland.
Taking that flight. Stay here. Ground ball to Carroll. And if there is a positive note, it is this, a 1-2-3 inning for George Sherrill. We'll move to the bottom of the ninth. Right, LeBron? Let's build something together. Bottom of the ninth for the Dodgers. They are facing a new pitcher. Brandon Metters is on for the second straight day. Just like George Sherrill seemed to write some things on the top of this frame, Bruce Bochy would like to see Metters do the same here.
Well, he was another guy that was very instrumental last year in this bullpen. You know, able to get the call any day and go out, eat some innings, get some outs, but he just hasn't been able to get anything going, you know, yet this year.
And obviously everything's magnified because you're talking about the first few weeks of the season, but this is a guy that Bruce Bochy could depend on. 5-1, ERA of 3.01 last season with a career-high 61 appearances.
See Aaron Rowan right there, chewing on something.
Wearing the boxer's shades after a tough night where he got hit in the helmet. Suffered a mild concussion, small fractures in that left cheekbone. He was being reevaluated today by a specialist.
Well, that's right. That's why I say chewing on something, and if the cheekbones.
But it's a right side chew. Oh, maybe it's a left. Oh,
I don't know. Both, you know, everything's moving there.
He's ambidextrous when it comes to chewing.
That looks chipmunk-like. There's a lot of jaw movement.
Is that what it's come down to now? Breaking down the way an injured guy is chewing?
I'm here for that hard-hitting analysis. Lucky I don't have the Exmo on him right now.
Right. The 2-2. Belliard pops it up. Whiteside gives it a look. Well, tonight on Fox, it is an action-packed chase as police take down a suspected drug dealer on an all-new Cops. Then a Special Olympics champion, loved by all, is shot in cold blood. We need you to help us find his killer on an all-new America's Most Wanted. It all starts tonight, 8/7 Central, here on Fox. The 2-2. Fouled away again. So, big picture, what did we learn today other than Tim Lincecum is very good, Eric Karros?
I think what we learned is that this offense for the Giants probably will be sufficient. I mean, they can't take a lot of injuries, but they've put 9 runs up on the board. There hadn't been any long ball. I think they've elongated their lineup with DeRosa, Huff, Velez. Looks nice right now. But this is a team that is going to go out. They're going to compete. They're going to give you at-bats. Again, with their pitching staff, 3-4 runs.
You're in it.
And especially in their ballpark.
Ball hit well to right. Sherholt squeezes it for out number 1. Well, today's Lexus Hybrid's game-changing player is the pitching side of Tim Lincecum. And a great line it was. 6 shutout innings, gave up just 4 singles, struck out 7, walked 2. His ERA for the season is now down under a run, .90. Blake DeWitt looks at a strike. DeWitt 1 for 3 with a single back in the 5th. Back up the middle. Metters gets a glove on it. Uribe throws him out. Well, Tim Lincecum gets an A, and not seen on that graphic is what he did in the batter's box. His first multi-hit game, he had 3 hits, 3 RBIs. But even if he goes 0 for 5 at the dish, Bruce Bochy will take that stat line any day.
Just dominant this early part of the season. And that's what you need when you get to the postseason. You need that number 1, that number 2 guy. You're not going to get through the postseason with just offense. You're not going to get through the postseason with with a bunch of number 3 or 4 guys in your rotation. You need that dominant 1-2 guy. And the Giants have that.
A.J. Ellis 1 for 2 on the afternoon. His first hit of the season back in the 7th. Ball lifted to left. Velez is going to give chase, but he's going to watch it one hop into the stands. It is the first extra base hit of the day for the Dodgers, and it comes with 2 outs in the ninth.
Well, A.J. having a tough day early on, but up at the plate today, not too bad. A couple of base hits, a fastball in, and he's still battling up there. Very easy to give away at bats in a 9-0 game, and 9th inning.
Well, now it is Russell Martin who is hoping to get the whole day off. So although the Dodgers love that A.J. Ellis gets that hit, it means that Russell Martin actually has to strap it on and go, because the only other guy they've got down there is Manny Ramirez, and he tweaked a calf injury. So what are you going to do if you're Joe Torre? You got to send somebody up there to hit for the pitch.
But, and I can tell you, on deck in that situation, I mean, Russell's rooting for his teammate. There's no question about that. But, there's also a little bit of him that wouldn't be so bad or feel so bad if A.J. just lined out and call it a game and we take it back to the clubhouse. Because that's tough. You're sitting around all day. There's no adrenaline at this point, because it's not as if your at bat is going to make the difference, win or lose in this ball game. And now it's, I got to go up to the plate. I got to, this is not a day off. Day off thing now just went out the window.
Well, Martin's a guy that has caught more innings than any big league catcher over the last 3 seasons. And this week, especially with the length of the games the Dodgers played in that series against Arizona. One of them that went almost 5 hours and 11 innings. This guy could use a little nap time. The 1-2. And with that being said, there is a base hit, and Ellis is going to be held at third by Larry Boa.
Well, now Russell's feeling a lot better. Like, look, you know what? If I'm gonna have to go up there, I might as well get a hit. Now he's saying, "Oh, that's all right, Joe. No big deal." But I'll guarantee you, when Joe told him to go up there, probably under his breath, going, "You gotta be kidding me, man! Then there's somebody else down here. Where's Manny?"
Is there a pitcher that's a decent hitter out there that wouldn't mind swinging it?
I hear you.
So now runners at the corners for Jamie Carroll. Solid day at the dish, 2 for 4. And Martin is going to take second base on catcher's indifference. Well, there's Manny. Left the game very early last night with a sore calf. Joe Torre told us before the game, he's probably available to pinch hit, but with your team down 9-0, it's not exactly the opportune time for an aging outfielder to go swing it. The Giants, Brandon Metters, trying to slam down their 3rd shutout in the first 11 games of the season. They led the big leagues with 18 shutouts a year ago. And there's one that catches the corner on a delayed call by Dale Scott.
Yeah, Jamie Carroll didn't like that. Pitch looked like it was outside, but I'm sure Dale Scott taking into account it's 9-0.
Ball lifted to left. Velez squeezes it, and the Giants have their 3rd shutout of the season. 9-0 the final. We'll be back to wrap things up from Los Angeles right after these messages and a word from your local Fox station.